Welcome back. The wife of Israeli Interior Minister Judy Nir Moses Shalom caused controversy 2 days ago after tweeting a racist joke on no less than Barack Obama. Yesterday, in an interview for the podcast WTF with Mark Maroon, commenting on the shooting in Charleston, Obama himself used the N-word, trying to describe the racial discussion in the U.S., trying to describe it as superficial. But what are the boundaries of humor, of political correctness? What can we say or can't we say? And who can say what? With me to discuss this is Dr. Udi Sommer, Associate Professor of Political Science at the Tel Aviv University. Good evening.
Good evening.
And also member of, you're also a member of Israeli Young Academy of Science, and also correspondent Ayman Sikseck. Good evening.
Good evening, Lucy.
Okay, she made a joke. Okay, she made a joke. It wasn't, let's say, the nicest joke.
Right.
It wasn't the funniest joke, but it was a joke. So why are we so outraged about that?
Well, it was a joke. It was in very poor taste. And the thing is, she later said that it's hypocrisy that she's been attacked in this way. And there is something to that. I mean, officials in Israel do say racist things about Arabs, about the Sudanese all the time. Yeah. Often, this is not met with half the controversy around what she said. And she's not an official in Israel. She's a citizen. And I think the reason behind that is, over time, we've adopted a kind of Americanized version of political correctness.
Which means?
Which means the appearance of being tolerant, the public appearance of being tolerant has become more important than practicing tolerance really in your everyday life.
Is it so? Is it so? Because, you know, we're making jokes all day. It's like, I'm trying to think that if me and Ayman are Arabs and we're making a joke about Arabs, is it okay that we are making the joke, that we are saying the joke, but if you will say the joke and you will tell me the joke, you will be racist? And I'm actually just making a good joke,
well, you just said it. You just said it, and I think there's something to it. But I think it's beyond that. I think when you think about American culture and American politics for quite a few decades now, there are certain issues that are just taken out of the discourse, taken out of the discussion, whether it's joking, whether it's academic discussion, whether it's public policy, whatever. There are certain issues and there are certain words that are just taken out of the discussion. The N-word is one example. Okay, the origin of N-word is just from the negro in Spanish, right? The black color. Okay, and it was used extensively in the 19th century, but then around midway in the 20th century, they decided that this word is going to be taken out of the lexicon. It is true that there are, and what you mentioned about, the comparison with the Israeli context, in Israel, maybe, certain minority groups or certain ethnic groups can make jokes among themselves, but those would not be considered jokes outside. It's not just about joking, but you can see that I lived in New York for 7 years, most of the time in Harlem, and my neighbors were predominantly African Americans, and they would call each other with the N-word. Okay, but
so
in many ways,
when Barack Obama is using the N-word, it's okay. But when let's say the anchor will answer him with the same word, or Hillary Clinton will say it will be not okay at all?
Even if Barack Obama, given the fact that he's the president of the entire United States of America and not just of the African American constituency, even him using that is very, very unusual, and he's been criticized over the internet and elsewhere on that. So this is extremely unusual. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that he has used it, certainly as president, probably as public official in his entire career. So there are those issues that are taken out. Now, whether then there's the issue about whether there's something substantive here, right? Whether it really makes a substantive change. So I can say, from my experience in the United States, being both a graduate student there and then later on a professor in a university, the fact that those issues are taken out of the discourse, that you cannot make any racial slurs, you cannot use racial slurs, you cannot make racial jokes at all, I think it has a substantive effect as well.
It's like when let's say, Jewish people are doing some jokes, going to Germany, for example, and starting to joke about the Holocaust, and Germans cannot stand this. Germans cannot even think about even starting to make a joke about the Holocaust. And, I'm asking myself, isn't humor supposed to be I don't know, free, a break from limits. Out of limits and a break from life, and we're supposed to, because a person that can laugh about himself is a person that can criticize himself, that a person that is complete with himself. So I don't understand why we stop joking about ourselves.
Well, ideally, it's supposed to be that way. But I think specifically with black culture in the American, in America, in the United States, there is the issue of appropriation. African-American culture is being appropriated by white people through music, through film, through many other means. And I think this issue with the N-word also touches on that. Not to mention that this is possibly the worst time to make this joke by Judy Nir Moses Shalom.
Yes.
With the huge racial tension in the US, with police and with other issues, it's really a bad time to make this joke. But there is this issue of do not take even our derogatory terms from us, the ones that we use with each other.
You know, we're human beings at the end of the day. We are people. We are, we make mistakes. We make mistakes. Even if the President of the United States using the N-word, even me, I'm not able to say it because if you're saying, if we just like started saying this word, and when somebody's passing here in the newsroom and heard it, they told me, oh my God, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. It's, how can you live like that? When you need to close your mouth, you need to check your boundaries all the time, you need to see that you're not hurting anyone. Or maybe we should have these boundaries. I don't know.
I mean, if you think about, you know, the history of the African Americans in the United States, starting from slavery, then the Jim Crow laws in the South, and even today, I mean, we look at the reality in the last few months, you know, we have seen some horrific scenes in America. I think it makes sense that there might be certain boundaries, and I think that, you know, if you think about the way to understand that might be to think about a constituency that's very close to your heart. Like, for instance, if you think about women, right? I mean, maybe it's a good idea that there are certain jokes or certain words that should not be used with reference to women ever at all, right? I mean, that's, yes, okay, you're saying yes, right? Okay, so just think about the comparison and, you know, think about it as an African American, and the same thing applies there as well.
Well, this is a question we've dealt with last year with Charlie Hebdo, the question of satire and humor and what can you say and what can you not say. And I think when it comes down to it, the bottom line is satire and humor are part of the contract of democracy. You have to accept that people will say things that will infuriate you sometimes if you really want the right to infuriate others with your opinion and voice your opinion publicly. So as long as you don't break the law, because the only boundary to humor and satire is what the law suggests. This is our only boundary in a democratic society.
Should we, like, you know, because you're talking about boundaries, and I'm asking myself if maybe we should take these boundaries out, and maybe with an open conversation and putting things on the table in an open way, it will make us reach, you know, like when you're going to a psychologist and the psychologist is telling you, put all your cards on the table, let's talk about everything. Don't just say things, just say it all. Maybe it's about time that we will start talking with each other in an open way.
I think that when you go into psychotherapy, most of the political overtones are staying out of the room, right? There's probably some politics there as well, but there's little politics, or it's less influential, or at least you can flesh everything out and talk about that. But when you talk about a conversation in any social setting, whether it's, you know, in university or in a public office or even just in the street, right? There are political overtones, and there is the political history, and those things cannot be overlooked. And if you let the powerful side and the weaker side have equal standing, both can say whatever they want, then politics would play against the weaker side.
Yeah, it's amazing that in 1 week, Judy Nir Moses Shalom is saying something about Barack Obama, and then Barack Obama at the same week making this mistake, which in one way or another just balance the whole thing. If Judy Nir Moses can make a mistake, also Barack Obama can make some mistake, and vice versa. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.